This is a Danger Entertainment podcast. DangerEntertainment.net. Danger Entertainment Podcast Network.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. And life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen. I am your hostess for the evening, and with me we have Brian. Hey, Brian.
Howdy.
And Snow Henno.
Yeah. Although it's not his
We
fault
miss
this time.
you.
Because
Go
I said
ahead.
it's not his fault this time because, you know, you and I talked about, you know, doing another show this week. And in fairness,
Mhm.
I forgot to reach out to Henno. so I'll take the
Is this
blame
a
on this one.
clandestine podcast?
I goofed on that. So we'll for sure, I'll reach out to him and we'll try to get him back for next week or whatever.
We're not cheating on you, Henno, I promise.
Yeah.
Our threesome will be back together again soon.
Someday.
Someday. Anyways. Sorry, folks. I'm being a little silly tonight, it seems. So, Brian, how are you? How was your week?
It was okay. I mean, you know, I don't think I talked to, I think we recorded before my grandma passed away last
Yes.
week. So yeah, my grandma passed away and, you know, like I talked about it on Salty Language, but it was like, you know, where, you know, it wasn't a surprise. She was 104 years old. Her, you know, her health had been.
Okay, we have to stop right there for a second.
Yeah.
How is that not a surprise? I mean, she was only 104.
Yeah, right. It was, whew. But, you know, so it was one of those scenarios where I think most of us really had already made our peace with it. That
Sure, absolutely.
and she was at peace with it as well. Like she was ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, she wasn't like, you know, kill me or anything like that, but it was very, she was very okay with like, I'm ready to go kind of a situation. So, and luckily, you know, I don't think she really suffered much. Things kind of got on the decline, and then it, you know, how it tends to do. Things once they kind of start sliding, they go quick sometimes, and you know, it's sad because, you know, it's sad for the loss first of all, but also that's my last grandparent, you know, so
Yeah.
that's sad. But yeah, I think you know, it seems like my brothers are doing okay with it. I don't know how other parts of my family are because a lot of her family doesn't live here. Like the few that are left of her siblings, none of them live in Toledo or this area, you know, so I don't know if any of them are going to be able to come in for the funeral. You know, so I don't know. It's like really and truly like her funeral is going to be mostly probably like church friends, you know, that kind of thing. Which is fine, you know, whatever. But yeah, so that's been kind of heavy. And, you know, I had a meeting with my social worker this week and I was telling her about this, and it's nice because talking with her really is kind of like getting a little extra therapy, you know, and it's much easier to get an appointment with her than it is my actual therapist. So there is a bonus.
It's getting difficult nowadays, isn't it?
It is, because I goofed, and last Friday I had an appointment with my therapist, and I totally forgot. And
oh boy.
yeah, and my next appointment is not until I think it's like 3 weeks from now. So, which is still not horrible, but also it stinks that I've been going to this therapist for a long time, and even I've got a book out that far. So, yeah, but talking with her, and because I was explaining to her, how it's another time that someone has passed away, and I don't have, I'm not super sad.
You don't have the traditional expected feelings.
And and much like I've been told by others, it's like I wasn't super close with her either, and it's like this is okay. This is an appropriate response. This isn't me being cold or mean or hateful or disrespectful or anything in that aspect. It's very like, this is just what I feel, and that's okay, But it's really difficult because there is that implied guilt that you kind of feel that, well, you should feel worse. It's your grandmother, it's your last grandmother, like those kind of things. And it's like, I don't, and I'm not gonna beat myself up for not having those feelings, But I always check in with my therapist or like, with the counselor I talked with, because I want to make sure that I'm not in some area of depression that's keeping me from feeling things,
Right.
Because I don't want, apathy is never a goal of mine,
Well, no, it should never be a goal of anyone's,
right?
For sure.
And I've been there. Like the one medicine I was on, I felt that way most of the time. And now that I know how medicine, that was the medicine making me feel that way, that it's like, okay, I try to monitor it, make sure I don't, fit into that again. So, yeah, I've kind of been beating myself up over that a little bit. And really what I end up mourning is, I kind of wish maybe over the years that I had done more to try to foster a better relationship. It wasn't a bad relationship with her. It's just, we just weren't close. And that started from some stuff that I'm not going to get into from when I was a little kid. And it just kind of always was there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And it got worse after my dad died. Like we drifted further after that because my dad was, well, realistically, a lot of it was I would go over there with my dad.
Yeah.
And after
he was kind of the glue.
Yeah, and after he passed away, it just wasn't as much. So anyway, so I do have some regrets in that I do feel are valid as well. That I really kind of wish I had done a little more on my end. I don't blame her. I don't blame anybody else. I just kind of wish I had put in a little more toward it. But, it's too late now. I had plenty of time.
Yeah.
For sure had plenty of time.
Kind of did, but no, I get you.
Yeah.
I get you 100%.
Yeah. But we talked about it on Salty Language. We even went into, like, Tony looked up, like, what happened in 1918, which was the year she was born. And what happened in the world that year, who else was born. Like, there's some pretty famous people that were born the same year as her. And Tony goes, wow, she outlived all of them. And most of them, it's not close. Like, most of them, she's got a good 10, 15 years on,
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, she led a long, good life.
Well, she recorded a record, didn't she, with her sisters?
Yeah, and they actually were invited to go, they were the whatever record company at the time or whatever wanted them to go on tour, but that just wasn't done in those days. Ladies did not tour about the country singing musics like that. Yeah, their dad shut it down. And
at one point she was married to a very wealthy gentleman with oil stocks and all that stuff. And I mean, she had lived a really amazing life. I mean, it was very long, of course, but
so that came from
it
came from a big family, humble beginnings, and and did well for herself. Even that, she married, and when my grandfather died, she was in a position to where she was, I think, in her 50s and had never driven before. She never really had a job. She did some side stuff like sewing and stuff like those kind of things, but she had never really gone to work. And then here she is, and now she's got to learn to drive. She had to get a job because, bills had to be paid, and he didn't really have, savings or anything like that helped with that. So, and she did. She made good on herself, went and got a job doing upholstery at Jeep, and worked there for quite a while till she retired, and and then she spent a lot of time giving time and effort and everything she could to her church. So,
yeah, she did. Yeah, she was a strong woman.
Yes,
for sure.
For sure. Yeah, very.
I don't think anyone can doubt that.
No, very strong, very stubborn. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But and she was caring and nice. I mean, like, to me, she wasn't like overtly like lovey-dovey. That was never her style. My dad said that wasn't her style with him either. And but I never questioned really that she cared about me, or any of those kind of things. But it's just, it's just not the way she was brought up. That wasn't what they did. So, but yeah, tried to do the best she could, and tried to be as good of a person as she could. And like you said, led a long life.
Yes, she did.
Because I remember, good Lord, almost 20 years ago, her telling us then she was like, kind of like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I've lived long enough. Like, and then she got, almost 20 years on top of that. So,
right.
Which is crazy. But again, like I mentioned on Salty Language, it's like her mom lived to be 101. So, and like I said, her youngest sibling is, I think, like 86. He's the baby. So.
My great-grandmother lived to be 103. My grandmother lived to be 87. My other grandmother lived to be 89. So, I have good stock. Whether that turns into me living a long life, who can tell?
Right.
Because trust me, I've made different choices than they did, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
I don't know though, right? Because like my grandma's from the era when they got up and had like lard with, cooked everything and bacon grease and lard.
This is true.
And all that and all these things that now it's like, oh, you can't eat that way. And I'm like, well, she lived to be 103 or 4. Are you sure? I don't know. I feel like maybe. But yeah, it was just a different time though. Cause you ate like that, but you also were on your feet all day doing work and doing things. You weren't, okay, dinner's, I've gotten breakfast done. Everyone's off to school and work, and I'm just gonna, sit and get on my phone or something like that. Where you might do that for a little bit now, or there's a lot more automated things that like she used to do laundry by hand, kind of thing. Like,
right.
There was no washing machines for a while, but it was fun talking about like, the stuff that has happened in her lifetime. Because it spanned technologically such like I said, when she was born, there was no TV. To where now literally we have TVs in our pockets, on our wrist kind of things, like it's insane how much the world has changed in that regard. We've been on the moon allegedly. We, like,
I think that's pretty safe to say we've been on the moon.
I'm goofing around, yeah. But, pandemics, world wars, just depression, so much has happened in those years. And it's mind-blowing when you really take a step back and look at all the things that she witnessed, maybe not firsthand, of course, but, like on the news or whatever. Just,
she lived through this stuff,
so much, and it's amazing. So that's why I said it's still sad. It's a big loss, we're all gonna miss her, but I'm glad she's not suffering. Hopefully she's where she wants to be, you know, and
Yeah.
that's all you can hope for at this point. So, but you know, that, you know, so when I went in to talk to my social worker and everything, I haven't made an appointment with psychiatrist for the ADHD stuff yet, because my social worker kind of forgot to send me the information. So I sent her a reminder, and she could not have been more like, I am so sorry. And I was like, it's fine. I've been waiting this long already, you know, but I will say I have been jumping online a little bit, reading a little more into, the inactive side of ADHD and stuff, and kind of looking to see, not just now, but looking back to when I was a child, and really kind of like, did I have these things? Was I, and it really is amazing when I go back and how, you know, you look at it, and some of the stuff, it's like girls don't tend to get noticed because a lot of them just stay quiet in classes. That's has been a typical thing for a lot of years, to where, you know, the girls were more quiet than boys as far as disruptive behavior goes. And it was like, yeah, but it was, you know, but I fall into that I wasn't disruptive in school, but I very much was not present.
You were distracted.
Some of the times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I heard everything going on. I, you know, literally could be, you know, like I said, I used to get in trouble all the time for doodling while I was in class. But then, you know, the teacher would be like, here's your test. And I'd be like, you know, burn through it, make, you know, and get like, you know, high 90s on it. So, you know, like I said, in those days, nothing seemed weird because I wasn't disruptive. I had good grades. So what's the problem? You know, similar to like you with your mania, right? Like,
yeah.
It's like, oh, well, you know, she's just really clean. She, you know, tears the whole house apart, but it's, you know, so completely clean when she's done. It's like, where's the negative, you know? So, yeah, I'm learning stuff like that really is helping me kind of explain some of the stuff I didn't understand growing up about maybe not fitting in, you know, keeping to myself, and a lot of the kind of stuff that really bothered me, and honestly was a big source of a lot of the bullying that I took. You know, and I think in the long run, I think some of this may help me deal with some of that bullying that maybe I've never fully processed and dealt with too. So, you know, in the long run, I think even though I'm more concerned about going forward, you know, like I'm not as concerned in living in the past, because what's the point at this point? I'm not going to harp on the bullying I had and stuff. It's like, yes, it has formed who I am, but I want to do everything I can to just be better and move forward. So, but I think in this, I think that reflection is really good and necessary, because it really helps me understand. It's also going to help me explain myself when I go talk to this other doctor, because I can really lay the track down of how this has been in my life since I was a child. You know, this isn't something that just came on. This is something I've had in me for years. So, you know, it's helpful. It makes me feel really good. You know, and I think it's nice as long as you don't accidentally hit that tipping point of getting into obsessing on the past, you know?
Yes.
So what I've done is I'll read a little bit and think a little bit, and then I kind of stop. That way I don't just go down a rabbit hole of more and more and more and more, you know? So.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. So that's basically been my week, is, you know, reminiscing. Honestly, a lot of it has been thinking about, you know, grandma and stories with her and things I dealt with her, and then, you know, then dealing with my own stuff a little bit.
Sure.
So how about you?
Well, it's been interesting. I guess I'm trying to think even how to begin. Well, I guess we'll start with work.
Perhaps you better start at the beginning.
A long time ago. No.
Yeah.
So work, I was up for a promotion. I did not get the promotion, which was not completely unexpected.
Right.
What was unexpected is one of my coworkers did get that promotion, she was the same band level that I was, and let's just leave it with she would not have been my choice.
Interesting.
And
okay.
Yeah, and I didn't even know she had applied.
Huh. Okay.
So it really hit me out of the left field. It was it.
Can I ask really quick? Was there any aspect of I don't know how to put this, shame spiral, for lack of a better term, like that you weren't good enough? Did you go through any of that?
No.
Okay.
Thankfully I didn't. It was more along the lines of that's not fair.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Understandable. Yeah.
Leaving the room and wanting to throw myself on the ground and
hey, I've talked on here before. Remember, it's like sometimes even as an adult, you just need to have a good tantrum and then get it out of your system.
Oh yeah, if there was ever a tantrum moment, that was my tantrum moment.
Yeah, but that's for sure something you do like in your car or at home or something like that.
Yeah,
not at work. Yeah.
So I was in the meeting and with him, and he was giving me feedback and telling me the plans for me, and which are all very good and very positive and very exciting in their own right.
Well, that's good at least.
Yeah, not as exciting as a promotion would have been, but
right.
But still,
at least that they have plans for you. There's some sight as far as a future. This isn't just like, hey, you didn't get it, close the door.
Yes, very true. And and so I do appreciate where he's coming from. In the moment, it was difficult to hear, but I was able to keep. For those who do not know me personally, I do not have a poker face.
Right.
My emotions are 100% displayed across my face.
I typically don't when it comes to like work type stuff either. Like I do if I'm telling jokes or those kind of things, I can deliver dry type stuff. But when it comes to like work or something like that, if you can look at me and tell right away how I'm feeling.
Oh yeah. And so he knew I was not happy.
Yeah.
But I did not say a negative word. I plastered a semi-smile on my face, very neutral face, and I just walked right on through it, got through the whole thing, walked out of the meeting, walked over to my manager, gave her the results of the meeting, a short little recap, and said, I'm going for a walk. And she
But that's the right attitude, because remove that negative energy from the workspace so it doesn't affect you there.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's like, got it. So I went for a walk, did some deep breathing, got my wits about me. I came back. I vented a bit to my manager, and she's like, well, da, 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 da. And I'm like, honestly, the reason I'm venting to you is because I know it's a safe place for me to vent. And so it's like, so she understood that and appreciated that. And I said, I need to sleep on this.
Yeah.
Because when the director talked to my manager, he asked her, he's like, is she gone? Meaning, am I leaving the company?
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, if he pushed me out.
Wow.
And she's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because that's how big this was. They were afraid that if they did not give it to me, that I would bail.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a pretty big deal. And I'm not going to lie, it crossed my mind.
Yeah.
But like I told her, I said, we have a long weekend in front of me. I just need to sleep on this, and I need to hit it with some fresh eyes.
Yeah.
There's just, right now, I'm extremely upset, obviously.
Right, which is the worst time to make a decision as far as that kind of thing goes. Yeah.
Yeah, I said, so I know that I am not in a place to make any sort of decisions.
Right.
And, or comments or really anything at this point.
Yeah.
I just need to kind of think on this. And I did, and I have come to terms with it much better than where it was.
Yeah.
I am very happy with their plans for me going forward.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting
tough, right?
to see how
Because
things...
you're like when they deliver that massive bad news to you, but then also are like, well, here's what we want to do. It's like you can't really see the positive at that point because you're still processing that first bit. So, like you said, doing it the way you did makes sense because you can process that, let that dissipate, and then go, oh, okay, maybe this isn't, this is or isn't what I want to do from there. So, yeah, that was by far the more mature thing to do there was to not immediately, call your boss and say, hey, I'm quitting tonight. Not that I would know anything about that, but
not at all. But yeah, so it was a very bitter pill to swallow, but I did, and so I really feel comfortable with kind of just moving forward and just seeing things, which kind of brings me to the next part, which something that Hannah likes to say is let go or be dragged.
Yeah.
And I found out this week that I had gotten myself lost in a relationship with someone where I was being dragged and I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it kind of came to the realization through a variety of different things that I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I need to let go here.
Yeah.
And see what happens. And unfortunately the wagon left, shall we say. So, but at least I wasn't being dragged anymore,
right.
Which is the good part.
It's good. Yep.
And that's kind of what I'm focused on. So it's kind of interesting because I've been getting a lot of life lessons over this last week.
Yeah.
So it's just been a lot of aha moments. And one of the big aha moments, I know I normally do not get depressed.
Yeah.
But for the last couple of weeks, I've been extremely depressed.
Yeah.
And, to the point that I know I'm still depressed, but the reason I'm not showing the signs of depression is because my medicine. Because I literally, when my medicine starts wearing off, I can feel it.
Oh, okay, I get you.
Yeah, it's like I feel the depression right there.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I gotta take my meds.
Yeah.
Because
that's like me after a couple days without my antidepressant. That's what it is with me. I can feel the weight. Like I feel an anchor is what it is. Like, and that was the best way I could describe it to my doctors is I was like, that's how I can tell the medicine works. Because when I don't have it, I feel like something is literally pulling me down, versus when I'm on it, I don't have that pull most of the time, So I understand that.
So, I do have an appointment coming up next week. I have my therapist as well as my new psychiatrist.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah. So I get to sit down and talk with them because I didn't want to change anything up or try anything new or anything like that until I meet with the new psychiatrist and get things figured out with them, where we want to go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, get some fresh eyes, some fresh opinions, and we'll see where we want to go with all that.
Yeah.
So, a lot happening, but all good stuff. I mean, I'm sleeping much better now, which is a good thing.
That's good.
I was really struggling with sleep for a while. But I am sleeping much better. And I'm communicating better, not as isolating as much.
Good.
So, so all good things. I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
It's just taking me more time than I want it to take.
Totally understand that. Like I've said to, my therapist, I'm like, when I look back, I see how many miles I've traveled, but when I look at it in the moment, it feels like I've taken 2 steps, you know, but you look back and go, yeah, I've done a lot of work. Like I've come a long way, but it's never quick enough. We always wanted to snap our fingers and I'm all better now, and unfortunately it does not work that way. You got to stumble sometimes, fall backwards,
Absolutely. And that's actually going to be our topic for coming up.
Really quick before you get into that, you mentioned, about something that Henno likes to say, and I forgot when I was talking that I actually had one of those moments too, which was when I was talking with my social worker about this with my grandma, and about one of the things I'm struggling with is I have a real issue with funerals and funeral homes, and I'm struggling with this. And, we talked about that for a while, and I was like, I know I should be there and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, she's like, don't beat yourself up with shoulds. And it reminded me of like Henno, I believe it was from his 12-step or his mentor or somebody, but it was the, don't should yourself to death. And it was, and I told her and she laughed, and I was like, it's funny. And that's why, like I said, it's so amazing at times with the stuff Henno has told us, because of how much stuff literally, even though it's different for different reasons, it's amazing how you see it's like, oh yeah, he said this stuff, he left that nugget, and then we found it on our path as well. And you're like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. And, it is amazing how, sometimes those knowledges, you're not ready for them, or you'll find it, like in some movies, the good guy will get something and it'll be like, well, how do I know when to blah, blah, blah? And they're like, you'll know when the time is right. And you're like, what kind of advice is that? But then you're like, oh, I get it. And I think we both kind of fell into that moment this week a little bit, even though we've used that advice in other aspects. It's funny how it does come back up, and you're like, oh, now I know what to do with the special this or this, So.
And there's one of those things that, because I go back to it a lot, those that are religious or not religious, it's just good words. The Serenity Prayer.
Yeah.
And gosh darn it, if that does not apply to so many damn things. And it's one of those things, I mean, it's been around for super long time. So it's like, there's a reason why it's been around as much as it has. Right. It is as popular as it is. But it's one of those things that if you really listen to it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It just is. Oh, and before we get on our topic, I do have a fun story I want to share with everybody. You want to talk about having a bad day and anxiety and stress and just facing your worst nightmare and fighting your way through it. I saw a comedian last Friday. I went to a stand-up comedy club. And we sat down, we got our food, we were waiting for the show to start. A large group comes in and sits down. Pretty normal, nothing big, crazy. First, the opening comic comes out to warm up the crowd. He's not all that amazing. Makes a few comments, the crowd answers back, he chastises the crowd, don't talk, blah, blah, blah. We all know good crowd rules.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody that's listening to this podcast knows how to be a good audience. Good audience at a comic show, you laugh, you clap, you do not talk.
Right.
Ever. If they ask you a question, you can raise your hand. Do not talk.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the number one rule.
Well, if they're doing crowd work, it's one thing. Like where they're directly asking questions or something like that. That's fine.
If it's something you cannot raise your hand to, then absolutely answer. But if you can raise your hand to it, just raise your hand.
Yeah.
Don't talk. So the main comic comes on. His name's Chris Porter. And a very funny comedian. Now, Chris Porter is a build-up comic. And for those who are not familiar with what a build-up comic is they warm up the audience in the beginning. They start a story. They get you ha-haing. And by the end of the story or series of stories and events, you're rolling on the floor laughing. Mm-hmm. But the whole key to this style of comedy is the build-up.
Yeah.
So you got to get the audience rolling with you. You warm them up, you warm them up, you warm them up, and then they boil over. Right. It's just, that's the way it goes.
Right. For anyone, if you're a wrestling fan, this is what they do when there's a guy in one corner in a tag team match and his partner just quite can't get that tag. They build it up. They beat that guy. And eventually when he makes that, it's called the hot tag. And the hot tag means the babyface is going to come in like a wrecking ball with all the gusto. And the crowd, when the crowd's doing their job, when that tag is made, the crowd goes stupid. It's the same exact thing. As you build up, you're building and building, but not quite giving them what they want. And then finally you're like, here it is, and it's boom, you know. So, yeah.
So he starts, and he makes a comment, a random comment. Guy in the front row starts talking back to him. Not mean, not heckle, nothing like that, just talking back.
Right.
And the guy, comic, I appreciate your comments, but no.
Yeah.
Be quiet. Guy didn't listen. Guy continued. They went back and forth. It was not pretty. Everyone felt uncomfortable.
Right.
Completely ruined the whole build-up of the comedy act. Got to the point where he was almost thrown out. And not pretty. So,
and that sucks because the comedian does not want to throw somebody out. Like, they
correct.
never really do. They want people to come in and have a good time. They don't want you to get thrown out. They don't want to have someone thrown out because a lot of times, it turns bad on them a lot of times. You know, oh, well, they can't take the heat themselves, type thing. Usually, like, anytime you fight with a fan, it's hard to win in any scenario,
correct.
So... But that person literally is ruining what this guy does, which can hurt the evening for everybody else in that club, which
correct.
is very unfair.
And it gets better. So, after he's doing his thing, comic starts, ramping up again. Guy decides to leave. So him and his woman leave. And the comic's continuing, trying to talk through all of that and try to, get the crowd back on his page.
Yeah.
Fire alarm goes off.
Oh, no.
With strobes.
Oh, my goodness.
So he looks over at the people who are running the place and it's like, I cannot work over this.
Yeah.
And so they, scamper around and they figure it out. And so they shut it off.
Yeah.
Great.
Did
continues.
they have to evacuate the club?
No.
Okay.
There was no actual fire. It was a false alarm. So he continues with his comedy again, trying to build the crowd back up.
Right.
Getting everything going. Then a couple more people from the big group decide to leave in solidarity of their buddy that left earlier.
Yeah.
So then we're building the crowd up again. Then the fire alarm goes off again.
Oh, my goodness. Now, out of curiosity, are you talking like they left, then there was a gap of time, then the fire alarm went off?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like on their way out, they just slammed the fire alarm kind of thing to okay.
No, but it was almost, that would have been better, because then the comedian could have just,
It still would have been while things were broken,
Right, and be done.
Poor
but
guy.
he would build, then something happened. Then he'd build, then something would happen.
Just kills the momentum, yeah.
Oh my gosh, every time he would get going, something killed the momentum. And, I mean, it had to have been a comic's absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
That is a nightmare set.
Right. Because it breaks his rhythm, it breaks the momentum, all the things, like you said, that you're trying to build, because that really is what it is. You got to, you disarm people by getting them to laugh, and then you keep making them laugh. And like you said, you build and build and build till the end. And, man, poor guy.
I know.
I mean, I'm sure he's had worse nights because he's been around for a while. So I'm sure he's gone up there and just died on stage, basically. But still, man, that's got to be rough.
Right.
Oof.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
And so, there were some other things that happened on a personal level that we won't talk about, but that were interesting too. But afterwards, I ended up, when we were walking out and he was, signing autographs and doing DVDs and all that stuff, I just snuck up to his table and I told him, like, I apologize for the crowd, first of all. And second of all, you did an amazing job holding it together and you had a very funny set.
Yeah.
So thank you. And he's like, oh, thanks, darling.
Yeah.
And, and who knows? I'm sure it didn't. I'm just one face in the crowd. It's not like I made or break his night.
I think
with my comments.
You never know though, because
Yeah.
most people are probably sympathetic to what he was going through because it's literally out of his control. Aside from somebody talking, he can control that a little bit, but because the comedians usually, I've heard some stories where the club does not give the comedians control of like, hey, this person's being disruptive, kick them out. But usually the club will kind of, if the comedian is kind of like, hey, they need to go, usually they will come over and escort them out. But man, that's bad enough on its own, just that. And then the fire alarms too, and not just once. Good gravy, to have it happen twice. Oh, that poor guy. That had to be hard to work around. But again, if nothing else, if he hasn't had that happen to him before, well, that's well, okay, I know I can work around this now.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure I brought it up on the podcast because it was a.
Were there two shows that night? Like, was it an early show or a late show?
It was the early show.
Okay.
So yes, there was two shows that night.
So, well, hopefully his late show went better.
I hope so for his sake.
Right.
I actually sought him out on Twitter, and I posted something on his page saying that, true professional.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll mean something to people because they may not see every comment, but if more people do stuff like that, like again, that's the like at the end of every episode when I'm like, go out, please be kind when you can. That is exactly what I'm talking about. Instead of going and telling stories like, man, it was a terrible show, blah, blah, which you probably could have done easily and said, because again, as the audience member, it didn't meet what a typical show would be, but it wasn't because the comedian was bad or whatever. It was like, he had to had to fight against extra circumstances. Like, geez.
Well, and plus the style of comedy he does. Like, he's not doing one-liners. He's not doing individual little stories and stuff.
Well, or even if that stuff had happened during crowd work, they can work around it.
Exactly.
Or if it's really early in the set, they can usually kind of recover. But again, to have to break 3 times at least during the set, that's hard to do. And he's only up there for, what's he up there for? 45 minutes, 40 minutes, something like that. So, So
it's, more props to him. I mean, I was incredibly impressed with his professionalism and his ability to carry on through a lot of that adversity. So, it's obvious that he has been around for a while. And, But, I mean, you could just tell more than once he was just wanting to walk off stage.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, just say screw it and walk.
And just be like, this just isn't working. Like, it'd almost be better to just be like, hey, let's take a 10-minute, 15-minute break. I'm going to come back out and we're going to just reboot, let me just come out and let's just start again, and it's like, let's see if we can't get this going here. But you can't do that either because you've already heard the jokes, so they're not as funny, Like when we went and saw Jim Norton that one time at that club, and then when his new special came out, like better than half of that special was stuff we saw when we saw him. And I'm like, oh, because it's still funny, but it was like, oh, but I've already heard all these. I've heard these stories, but whatever. Man.
So I just wanted to share that with everybody. So definitely it's one of those things that no matter who you are, no matter what you're going through in life, you're always going to keep coming across these challenges and these hurdles. And some days you just want to walk off stage and just say, forget it, I'm done, drop the mic, and then walk away. But the fact is, you got to push through, you got to persevere, you got to fight through it, and you will get to the end.
Yeah.
You might be bruised and dirty, but you will get to the end.
Yeah, the landing may not be pretty, but
Yeah.
It's like you got to get there. I'm sure when he was done, he was probably so relieved to just have that set over. Like I said, thank goodness. I'm glad for his sake. Again, he's a veteran, so I know he probably will shake this off. But,
yes,
but I do appreciate the fact, hopefully he got a chance to go back out there at 9 o'clock and kill, just go out and just blow him away, the way he should, instead of having to deal with all that.
Oh my gosh.
Man.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, the second time that the fire alarm went off, he's like, seriously?
Like, are you kidding me? Yeah. Because it's not like you can. It's not like you can tell jokes through a fire alarm because it's loud and abrasive.
Yeah.
It's not like someone's cell phone going off where you can kind of talk over it.
Yeah. It was. Oh, I mean, I felt so horrible for him.
Yeah.
Which actually segues us pretty nicely into our topic tonight, which is patience. The article that we found is through mindtools.com, and it's patience. Don't let your frustration get the better of you. Now, I will 100% own the fact patience is not my virtue. I am no good at patience. I am very much a immediate gratification type of person. I really struggle with the whole patience thing. So I wanted to kind of bring this article to us. And it starts with patience is a virtue, and there's a reason. It is a tough skill to master. Imagine, for instance, that you're waiting for someone to finish compiling a report that you need for a meeting. You're already late, you can feel your body getting tense, and you're starting to get angry. Suddenly, you use your temper and yell at the person for putting you behind schedule. You can tell that they're shocked and upset by your outburst, but you can't help it. We likely all lose our patience occasionally, but doing so frequently or inappropriately can harm your reputation, damage your relationships, increase stress, or escalate a difficult situation. So, what is patience? Patience is the ability to stay calm while you're waiting for an outcome that you need or want. According to research by psychologist Sarah Schnichter, it comes in 3 main varieties: interpersonal patience, life hardship patience, and daily hassles patience. So, interpersonal patience. Interpersonal patience is the patience with other people, their demands, and their failings. I think we've all been there before, where we lose our patience and we get super angry when the person in front of us in line at the grocery store is writing a check. They have multiple orders that they're paying for with separate currency. They have a ton of paper coupons. We all have those stories.
Yeah.
The person with 20 items versus the 10 big sign overhead, 10 or less, but they have 20.
I had one the other day that was a patience issue for me, which, well, it wasn't just patience, but there was a woman standing behind me in line and she was snapping gum and it felt like she was right in my ear. And when it got closer to us going, I realized she only had 2 things in her hand. And I was like, you guys can go in front of me. And she's like, oh, thank you. And in my head, I'm going, I'm not doing this for you. I did something nice, but it was absolutely selfish. 100%.
Yeah, it was not altruistic at all.
I mean, it was a little bit because I did have a cart full of stuff, but it was more just to get her out of my ear.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
So interpersonal patience is patience with other people, their demands, and their failings. You may consider some people to be slow learners, hard to understand, or even downright unreasonable. Or they may have bad habits that drive you crazy. But losing your patience with them will be of no benefit, and it may make matters worse. So something I have adopted, and we are referencing Hanno's wisdom quite a lot tonight. But some of the things that he said over the years that he has learned through his program, they really resonate, and they really make a strong stance, and one of them is I'm gonna get the wording wrong. I know I am. Can I control it? What was it? Anyways, I'm not gonna worry about that. But the whole point is that you have to, you gotta let things go if you can't control it and you can't do anything about it, and it is not something that you can take action on. You gotta let it go. You can't fixate on it, and it's so tough when you're in the moment. So tough when you're in that moment to take a step back and say, what is the benefit for me to react to this? If someone's in front of you in line and they have 20 items and they're only supposed to have 10, all right, what are your options? What are you going to report them? You're going to report them to the police, to the grocery police?
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Nothing.
Right.
Okay. You could yell at the people. What's that going to do? That's going to probably call the police on you. Not a good choice for you to do that.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So when you stop and you break it down logically and say, all right, what is the end game if I make a stink about this? More often than not, you'll find that patience is the right path. That's the most logical, reasonable decision that you can make to get the desired results that you need. It is very hard, as I mentioned earlier in this article, to go there, and to pull that patience. And sometimes it feels like you are seriously making it appear out of thin air like a magician.
Yeah.
But whatever you need to do, it is worth it. Now, patience and understanding towards others is essential when you're onboarding new staff or when you're delegating tasks. It is also a huge help in dealing with difficult coworkers or managers and is central to high quality customer service. This type of patience is active listening skills, empathy, and vital. And when you're dealing with difficult people, you need the self-awareness and emotional intelligence to understand how your words and actions affect the situation. You can't just wait it out and hope for the best. So, in a lot of ways, it requires not just the patience of sitting back and waiting, but even some interaction. Like maybe the woman in front of you have an older woman in front of you at the grocery store and she's struggling. Instead of sitting there getting frustrated, she's taking forever, and offer to help. Lift the water up so the guy can scan it. Help her get things done like you did. Let the person go in front of you that had the 2 items. It's like, take an active role in resolving the situation without conflict. Hard to do. We're not saying this is easy by any stretch.
Yeah.
Now, life hardship patience. We could use this term perseverance to sum up life hardship patience. It can mean having the patience to overcome a serious setback in life, like waiting long term for the outcome of a lawsuit or for medical treatment, but it can also include your ability to work toward long-term goals, whether it's professional, such as a promotion, or personal, like getting fit or saving for a vacation. Whatever the obstacle you have to overcome, it will likely require determination and focus to achieve, and you will need to keep your emotions under control throughout the journey. These emotions can range from eagerness to get it done, to anger at the frustrations you encounter along the way, which can cause you to be demotivated. We've way been exposed to this one. Anyone who has made a New Year's resolution that has not come true knows life hardship patience.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's just, me right now. Did I want that promotion? Hell yeah, I wanted that promotion. Yeah. Do I want to be patient and learn and grow so I'm ready next time it comes around? No. I don't.
Right.
I want it now. I don't want to wait. I don't want to work for 3 more years to make this happen. But will I? Yeah. Is that the logical decision? Well, yeah. It makes sense. But emotionally, do I want to? No, I want to lay on the ground and stomp my feet and say, gimme, gimme, gimme. I want it now.
Right.
And it's tough. Do I want to lose 50 pounds? Absolutely. Do I want to go to the gym every day? Do I want to watch what I eat and monitor my calorie count and my carbs and all that other stuff? Hell no.
Right.
But do I want the 50 pounds gone? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I know what needs to happen to make it happen? Yeah. Do I have the patience to sit back and actually do everything I need to know I need to do? No. So that's where it comes in that patience is a virtue.
Right.
And it's not easy. It is really hard. So it's one of those things that you constantly have to think about and constantly have to work at and work towards. The benefit, the silver lining to the whole thing is that you'll be happier, you'll be way less stressed, and those around you will be happier. And that is a pretty good bonus to the whole patience thing.
Yeah.
Now, number 3, daily hassles patience. Sometimes you need patience to deal with circumstances that are beyond your control. These are your life hassles. Something as trivial as getting stuck in traffic line, for instance, or waiting for a computer program to load. You also need patience to get through those dull but unavoidable day-to-day tasks that don't necessarily contribute to your personal goals. The ability to maintain self-discipline and give a job, no matter how mundane, the attention to detail it needs is a hallmark of patience. Research suggests that people who can stay calm in the face of these constant, petty frustrations are more likely to be more empathetic, more equitable, and to suffer less from depression. So, ultimately, to kind of wrap it all up, there's more to the article, so I highly recommend you reading it. The key to everything is patience. You get the chicken by hatching the egg, not by smashing it open. Arnold Glasgow, American humorist.
I mean, I guess you get the chicken either way. It's just a matter of what condition you want the chicken in.
Well, if you want an actual chicken and not just, scrambled egg, you gotta wait for it to develop.
Yeah.
And it's so hard. And I know I've mentioned it like a million times so far tonight.
Yeah.
But it truly is. And if you're not naturally gifted with patience, it makes it even harder. I've had people, because I do deep breathing a lot, and that is how I make it work. And some people have made comments and stuff about me sighing or, being upset and stuff. I'm like, no, that's my deep breathing. That's how I center myself and, in essence, find my patience.
Right.
That is me getting myself in the right frame of mind to move forward and not, explode, basically.
Yeah.
And make things so much worse. So next time you see a poor mother with 4 kids hanging off the cart, and she's fighting desperately to get one to stop crying and to keep random things from being tossed in her cart, like candy and sugary cereals, give her a smile. Show her a little patience. Maybe let her go in front of you in line and just, let her know that it's okay. Because she's about ready to blow her stack at any moment.
Right.
So, empathy goes a long way towards patience.
Yep.
All right. So, what do you think, sir?
I think that was good.
All right, cool. So, it's that time, folks. Cover a lot of ground tonight. Talked about a lot of things. And we would absolutely love to hear from you. So, if you would like to reach out to us, you know what to do. You can reach us at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com. You can also, that's our website, of course. You can also reach us at our email, which is thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. If you'd like to reach me, Brian will tell you about our Facebook page, and you could go there and shoot me a message. Just address it to Jen. Or you could also shoot me an email and address it to Jen. Still trying to take a little bit of a break from the social media stuff for now. And Brian, how can they reach you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Stunami. You can find my other podcast at salty_language on Twitter or at saltylanguage.com. Show's not safe for work, and it's just me and my best friend talking about kind of whatever, we think about. Like this week we talked about my grandma, of course, and we talked about Thor, the new trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder. Movie theaters, breakfasts, Arby's having a Wagyu beef burger. Just stuff like that. So if any of that appeals to you, and a lot of times it's just pop culture type stuff or whatever. So if that appeals to you, please go give us a listen. And again, please remember it's not safe for work. You can also find this show on Twitter at The Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. And you can find Henno on Twitter at Ida Henno, or on Facebook at Henno Heiter. You can find his other podcast, which is Moving the Needle, at MTN Pod on Twitter. And I think the newest episode is still the Orca versus Piranha episode. Yeah, looks like maybe they took a week off or something there somewhere. Or they didn't update their Twitter, whichever it was. But either way, go check that out. They talk about a lot of, they compare similar type movies, and sometimes they'll talk about newer movies or music and whatever. It's a fun show, though. So go give them a listen. I also want to point out that there's links in the show notes if anyone needs different help. For, like, I have coda.org for codependency, Gamblers Anonymous, obviously for gambling, and then the Suicide Prevention Lifeline is in there. But as always, please reach out if you need help. It's very difficult. We've all been there. All three of us doing this show, have all taken those steps. And we know it's really hard, but, you can do it. And, there's people that want to help you out there. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, please check on your friends if you haven't, just to make sure they're doing okay. And, as I already said, please be kind when you can. It fits right in with what we were talking about tonight is, along with patience, kindness can go such a long way and help. It was, like I said, I was just in the store and every line was so long I'm guessing it was because of the holiday weekend. But it's just, you feel bad sometimes. Like I see a guy walking through and I was in the middle of a long line, so I couldn't really help him, but it was like, I see this guy walking through and all he's got is just like a single piece of pie that he had bought from like over in the bakery or something like that. And I'm like, I'm looking at the lines going, there is no line where that guy's going to be able to, really just grab his, pay for that pie and get out of there without a bunch of people letting him go in front of him, so it's like, well, I hope he's got good patience because he's going to be waiting a while, or he's going to set that pie down and walk out. I don't know what he did, but yeah, it's, those are a great time. Like with me and what I did, it's like normally I will like if I have a full cart of stuff, if there's someone like right behind me that's got like one or two things, I'll let them get in it because it's going to take me a couple minutes to unload my grocery cart anyway. So in the time I'm starting to do that, they can already be through, rather than have to wait. So, please just show some kindness to everyone, when you can, and help when you can, and just be a good person. try not to be a jerk to people. I know it's really hard right now. There's so much out there that feels so heavy and negative. But let's not let that change who we are as people. Let's still be kind, and let's still be decent to one another. Be excellent to one another, as they said in
yes.
Bill and Ted's.
Absolutely. And just a shout out to everyone with the kids out there. Hug your children. Make sure that they know that that you love them, because God knows right now in this crazy world that we're living in, you may not get another chance. So hug your loved ones, everybody, and go out there and have the absolute best week you can possibly have. And we'll be here just waiting for you next week. And don't forget, have that patience and wiggle those toes.